Yeah, that is a big problem because read the rest of the treaty. If there is one policy which is still a subsidiarity policy, which is linked to the member state, it is education and the content of the education. And that is an easy sentence. Look at Germany. Each land is even responsible for the content of its education. So I was during 5 years responsible for education at the European level between 1999 and 2004. And I had developed with university professors under the leadership of Jacques Lang that time, who was Minister for Education. And we had developed a program for teaching history, teaching European history. You know what has happened to this program? It has disappeared in a drawer. There was not one single Minister of Education of one single member state who wanted to introduce that in the compulsory education system. So far for that. And I said to Jacques Lang at that moment, I hope that one day we are going to have an education through the internet, because that will eliminate then the books. Do you know how a book is done in a member state? Committees and committees of people coming together and taking out of the book everything which could be interesting in order to come to a medium way of seeing things. And it normally stops at the First World War. So it is very rare that an education on how Europe was created, why it was created, how it has evolved, is given in the compulsory education system. I do really regret that, because I do believe that kids should learn about their own history as they learn about the history of Europe. And everywhere I go now, I urge the mayors, because mayors in primary school can do some things in their primary school, some things in the member state. So I urge them, I always ask them, do you speak to the kids in your school about what is a nation, about the flag, and about your fundamental law? And I tell them, then read the Charter of Fundamental Rights of the European Union, which is one of the most beautiful texts which has ever been written in the history of mankind. And it is very short. So if you read the constitution of your state, read also the Charter of Fundamental Rights, which is a basis for our rules, for the way we live together, the way we respect each other, the basis of the rights of the citizens and of the societies. So I have to try to go through this way, because normally the only power of action which a European Commissioner has is in cross-border questions. And that is why the mobility is something which is in our hands. And that is why, for instance, Erasmus, we could create it. And because it is mobility, it is going from one member state to another. So there you can intervene, because the treaty gives you the possibility. The treaty does not give you the possibility to intervene in the national curricula of national schools.
What is your suggestion that you would do if you would be Mme Reding?
I agree, the treaty does not give I agree that the treaty does not give competence to the Union to intervene in content of teaching. But there is a lex specialis to that lex generalis. That is the first intent of the second paragraph of Article 165.
Yeah, well,
and the Jean Monnet action proves that, because there is a lot of promotion for action under Jean Monnet for the European dimension education and higher education institutions. So why can that same action not be undertaken at secondary school levels? And there the cross-border element is not in mobility, but simply in the subject, in the European dimension of education.
What are my powers as a European Commissioner? They are very wide. But my powers go only as far as the treaty goes. And if somebody in a member state or a state thinks I have overpassed my powers, they bring me to the European Court of Justice and I lose the case. it goes even so far now that national parliaments can, at the moment I put something on the table, show me the yellow card, like in football, saying that I have overpassed the powers which are mine. So the respect of subsidiarity is one which is very strong, and I'm sorry, this one simply wouldn't fly in front of the Court of Justice, and that would be a catastrophe.